Hey crafty people, it's Tasha here for Time for Tea Designs. Today I'm going to be covering a couple of different techniques. We're going to start with making 3 different backgrounds with Distress Oxides, and that is using the brand new saltwater taffy colour. And then we're also going to cover creating a full panel shaker from stuff that I'm sure you definitely have around your craft room. So I'm going to start with just an ink blended ombre kind of background. I love ink blending, and I find Distress Oxides are just so easy to blend, and they're just really creamy and beautiful. So I'm starting with, I think it's Victorian Velvet. And then I've gone into the saltwater taffy, which is the new colour. It's quite a sort of muted, lovely pink, and I think that it blends really well with that Victorian Velvet. And then we're going to go from there into some abandoned coral. So at this point, that the colour is getting more vibrant and brighter, and I think it's just a really nice transition between those 3 colours. I'm just ink blending on, it's basically, like laminator sheets. I laminated one, then I laminated that inside another, and then I laminated those inside another. So it's about A4 size, but it's really thick and sturdy, and I just find that I like that for ink blending. So I decided that I wanted a little bit more drama, and I wanted to deepen that purple tone a bit more. So I grabbed out my seedless preserves. So I ended up with seedless preserves, then Victorian Velvet, then saltwater taffy, and then the abandoned coral. So I've let that just dry, settle for a little bit, and you can see how lovely and smooth that blend is. And then I decided to add a little bit of texture. I've just squirted a bit of water, just give that a second to work, and then dry that up with a towel. So background number 2, we're going to do some ink smooshing. So this is super easy. I know ink blending is not everybody's cup of tea, but this is just so easy to do. So literally just squashed the ink pad down onto that laminated sheet that I've got there, and spritzed it with some water, and then I am putting a sheet of, this is the Distress watercolour cardstock. I'm just pressing that down into it. And the magic with this kind of technique is that you want to build it up in layers. So I've squashed it down in the lighter colours first, then I've dried that with my heat tool. I've got the Wow heat tool, and there's a lower setting which is perfect for drying things like paint and ink and things. So I've worked up through the sort of starting with the saltwater taffy and Victorian Velvet, and then I've layered on top of that the abandoned coral, and then eventually I've added some seedless preserves, and I love how that comes out. It's so vibrant and beautiful. So background number 3, we're going to do some more ink blending, but this time we're going to use a stencil. So this is I think it's Sprinkles. One of these days I will get names in my head. It's like Sprinkles stencil. It's Time for Tea. And I'm just using those same colours, but I have switched up the sort of order that I've gone in, because if you aren't confident with ink blending, then using a stencil like this is going to really help you explore how your inks are going to blend, because having that pattern kind of masks it. So if you don't get a brilliant blend, or the 2 colours that you put next to each other don't really work, you won't notice as much because there's not as much space to see it in. So once I'd done that whole panel, I decided I didn't want it quite as white and stark, the background, so without adding any extra ink to my brushes, I just went over just to, like I said, take some of that bright white out. Then on top of that, I'm going to spray some shimmer spray. This is just one that I've made myself with Perfect Pearls and water. And there we are. There are our 3 backgrounds. I love them. I love this colour combination. I'm definitely going to be using that some more. So moving on to our second technique of the day, we're going to make a full panel shaker using some plastic packaging that I'm sure you have lying around your house. Let's recycle it and save yourself some money as well. You don't need to buy the acetate or the specialist sheets. So I've cut some, this is a packaging from a stamp set, and I've cut it so obviously it's not double, it's just one single sheet, and I've roughly cut it to be a bit larger than the panel that I'm going to use. I've then snipped off all of the corners, but you want to be careful not to snip all the way up to the corner of your cardstock, because that's going to leave a gap where your shaker bits could potentially come out. So once I've got that, all the corners snipped, I've added some strong double-sided adhesive. I'm doing one side at a time, just adding that adhesive, remove the backing paper, and then fold that side of the plastic over so it is secured from behind, and eventually we're going to have that sealed on all 4 sides, and that's going to create a full panel or infinity shaker, where basically there's no frame, there's nothing around it, it's just, as it sounds, a full panel shaker. And I just think this is a fun and ridiculously extra way to make a shaker card. So I'm going to seal 3 of those sides, and you can see there I was just checking the corners to make sure that I hadn't cut them too close to the cardstock. And then once I've got the 3 sides done, before I seal that 4th side, I want to add all my shaker bits. So I've got various different sequins and bits and bobs that I'm just adding in. This is a great way to use up any of those sequins, or you could even use little seed beads, like the clay, little clay sprinkles, anything at all. So once I'm happy with what's inside it, I'm going to seal that 4th side, and that gives me a full panel shaker. So I'm not going to show you for the other 2 because it is exactly the same. I just used some slightly different sequins, but they were just all bits and bobs that I had in my stash. So now I'm going to show you how I finished these cards off. So the sprinkles background, I've got the adorable panda in a teacup. It's so cute. And the sentiment, "You're terrific." I love it. Then for the plain ink blended background, I cut a small panel of vellum using that heart panel A2 panel die, and the big birthday wishes sentiment die, and I stacked that white on the top with some holographic paper behind it. Then our last one, and I think that this one is my favourite, I've used these adorable little skunks, and then the sentiment joy is, I hadn't got that one out because that was one that I made before and was in my stash, so I just grabbed a sentiment from there. So you can see now some more close-up details, and I just love, they are so much fun. And my youngest daughter was like, "They're mine." She wants them. So I hope that you'll give it a go. Let me know what you think about the new Distress ink colour. Let me know if you've tried this Infinity Shaker style card, and if you do create something that is inspired by anything that I've made today, then I'd love it if you'd please tag me and Time for Tea so that we can see your beautiful creations. I have all of the products that I've used linked below, and I hope that you have a lovely, happy, safe and wonderful week. Stay crafty. Bye.